Hello guys and welcome back. So in the last section we created the reactive form inside our TypeScript class, added some default values to it or initial values to it, and then we added these form fields to the form template here using the form group, form control names and form group name. So if I go back here, then I'm also seeing all these fields getting populated with the appropriate texts in them. Now, in this section, we are going to talk about creating or using validations. So let's start with the name. In this one, we can use validators, a single one with the help of the validators class that we imported from Angular Forms. And on this form, we have a validator function named required that we can use. So this is a function which is of type static, and that's why we don't really need to create an instance of the validators class to essentially use it. And we are not going to call it here like so, because that is something that Angular is going to do. So if we just do this and save, then if I go back, then I should essentially, if I don't type in anything and tap away, then um, if I inspect this particular element right here, then I should see the class is named ng-invalid getting added to this class or added to this particular input field right here. Okay, so to now show validation errors for this particular field, let me just quickly copy the style that we used here, and that is something that I will be using for this one as well. Let's also use this form control class. So if the class is form hyphen control and ng touched and ng invalid, then we need to apply a border of 1 pixel solid red. So let me just cut this text from here and blur away. And I don't really see that border as of now. I guess there is some issue. So let's just quickly see that. I'll just open the TypeScript file here, and this has the validators.required added to it. Inside this, we have the form control name as name, which was again this one right here. And for this input, we need the fields getting applied. Let's save this again and check back. If I cut the text from here and tap away, I'm still not seeing those red borders. Okay, maybe let's just quickly um, dog this to the right side, and I guess let's remove the form control class and let's see that in action now. So if I cut the text from here and tap away, it's now using the form validation error styling on this field. So this is how you can use basically a required validator. Let's say if we wanted to use multiple validation rules in here, then we can do that as well. But instead of using validators like this, we'll have to, in that case, wrap it inside an array like so. So this generally makes sense only if we have multiple validators that too synchronous in nature. So if we do have multiple, then we can use an array of sorts. Um, Let me also use validators dot min length, and let's specify it as 8. Let's also use a pattern. So validators dot pattern. This is another function that returns a validator function, and same is the case with min length. We are able to call these functions, but we didn't really call the required function, and that is because the required function itself is a validator function, while the min length as well as the pattern calls would return a required function like so, or a validator function like so. Okay, so I'll specify the pattern here inside a string. Let's specify just John Doe for right now, and let's go back. So if I just remove do from here and tap away, then again it's invalid. Now what if we wanted to show validation errors? Well, in that case we can use a div and we can apply a class of mm, alert and alert hyphen danger, and in here we will specify the text that we want to get displayed for each validation error. um, this div first of all should be visible only if we'll need to have access to this form control right here, and that is something that can be done using the form name. So user form, and we can call a get method on it and pass the name of the form control name right here, and that is name in this case. So form control name dot, if this is touched and this is invalid as well. So let me just quickly copy it here and paste and invalid. Then in that case I need to show the validation error saying that name is invalid, like so. If I save this and go back, and let's just change the name here, tap away, and it says that name is invalid. What if we wanted to show specific errors for a particular error type? Well, in that case, again, we can use the errors object as we used inside template driven forms. So we can have access to this form using this form control using the get method right here, and then we get something called an errors object that has specific validation errors for each error type. So it can have a required error. In that case we'll say that name is required, and let's copy this 3 times. We can also have a min length error, and I can specify that name must be at least 8 characters long, and I can also specify the error named pattern, and let's specify the error message as name must or name can only be John Doe. Alright, let's save this and go back. If I type Siddharth in here and tap away, then it says that name can only be John Doe. If I just type in Sid and navigate away, then it says that name must at least be 8 characters long and name can only be John Doe, because there are 2 validation errors in this case. If I type in John Doe, however, I will get rid of those errors. So this is how you can use multiple field validation errors for a particular form control. Now the syntax that we have here is a bit long and it's not that clean, right? So there is a way to tackle that, and to tackle it, we can essentially create a get property with the name of say name, and what this will do is it will return this dot user form dot get name. So whatever is returned from this get method, which would essentially be the form control object, that would be returned from this name. And to use it, we can simply replace the user form dot get name, all the instances of it, with just name dot errors and name dot touched and name dot invalid. So if I go back, then this should still work as expected. Name is required. If I type something in, then 8 characters long and John Doe error is also getting printed. John Doe, and the name and the error now goes away. Now, just in case of the template driven forms as well, we also have something for the expected or required length in here as well. So again, that is something can use in here. So we'll just use the min length error object on which there is a required length attribute that can be used. So if I save this now and go back to the application, then it should again work as expected, like so. All right. Okay, so this is how you can essentially use built-in form validations and create multiple validations as well, and use them inside your class, like so, by just calling in the validators dot these methods that we have here on the validators object. All of these are static in nature, so we don't really need to create an instance of the validators class. And then we can simply get a hold of all these error messages and show them or print them to the screen using this approach here. In the next section, we are going to talk about dynamically adding form controls or form groups to our form here. So I'll see you guys in the next video.